Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Or if you're here the first time, hello. And today I want to film my August and September recap. I'm also trying out a new microphone, and if you're wondering where I am, this is actually my office, and this is my editing place. So I think I said this in previous videos. My job is to make marketing videos, and this is where I do it. So yeah, got a new microphone, and I hope the sound is good. I'll see that after the video. And yeah, so not that much has happened in August. I went back to work on the 27th of August, and since then, today's the 17th of September, it has just been like go, go, go. It's crazy. And for the most part of August, I was still on my summer break. And yeah, I did do some things, and I'm gonna talk about that in this video. So where do I even start? I did prepare notes. Let's see. So in August, I reached 100 subscribers. Thank you very much to everyone who's subscribed. What else? Let's see. Okay, the first week back at work, we had this major event that involved the head of our country, the Chancellor. She was here. They were giving her an award, and it was like 3 companies coming together. It was the government, it was the company that wanted to give her the award, and then the company that I work for, which is the venue, pretty much. And this whole thing was so much chaos. I have been to many events that I filmed while I was still working at a TV station, and we covered all kinds of things, but I have never experienced something so unorganized and so chaotic, and like so much so that one of the people responsible from the company that handed out the award, the lady who wrote my itinerary for that day, because I was filming for them, she even called the day after the event, called my boss to apologize for how things went down. That's how bad it was. And yeah, just and government press people, you need to learn some manners, at least some of you. Okay, and then in August, let's see, on the 17th of August, so exactly a month ago, I got a reading from Tangipair, and in that reading, Tangi, she did a third eye reading, so the guides talked about something with singing and like a celebration, and a new project, a new idea, not taking things so seriously, and about someone famous within my area of work. And all of that came true, because this movie that I was working on is part of an opera production, and this was directed by Rolando Villazón, and I didn't know who that was either before I started working with him. Yeah, I know, bad. He's actually one of the most famous opera singers of our time. He is a tenor, and he is known all over the world, and he's right up there with Pavarotti and Jose Carreras and, you know, the other ones. And so he was putting on a stage production of L'Elixir d'Amore, The Love Potion. And he had previously done that somewhere else, and that production is even available on YouTube, like the complete thing, from 2012. If anyone's interested, you can just Google it or YouTube it. And so I was asked to produce the film at the very end of the opera, because for those of you who are not that familiar with opera productions, each director has the opportunity to put his personal spin on the story. So you have the original text, you have the songs and everything, and the director can decide where and when he wants the story to play. And so even something that was written about a story in 1600 something Italy, a director could try to find a modern take, like some kind of aspect that could still relate to our modern days today, and he could take that production and put it into modern times and have modern costumes, modern stage setting and everything. So with this production, that also played originally in a rural area with farmers and stuff, he took that production and he put it into a 1940s Hollywood film set. So we have a story within a story. And the story in the story is the opera itself, like everything that usually happens in this opera. And they were acting it out as a Western. Now this all sounds really crazy, so I'm just going to link the original production from 2012 below. If you want to see what I'm talking about, Rolando Villazón was even singing in that one. Yeah, they were trying to film, and at the very end there's an actual film of everything that kind of happened in the opera that they were trying to film, and I was hired to create that film. And that was so much fun. It was very hectic because originally we had an entire day set aside, not an entire day, but like 5-6 hours for the shoot set aside on an extra day. And then he decided, no, you know what, we're going to film this after the dress rehearsal. So after they have been going through the entire opera with repetitions and everything, so they had been on stage from 2 p.m. to 7:30 in the evening. And so everyone was pretty much done by that time. Like, they were exhausted, they had been singing for hours. And we then started at 8, and in opera or in theater, you have to be done by 10 p.m. because that's when work is shutting down, pretty much. Yeah, so everyone was exhausted, and I was like, okay, something that we originally had planned for like 5 hours, or to do this within 5 hours, we now only had 2 hours left to do this. And I mean, the movie that I made was a reboot of the movie that had been done once before, so I already knew what it was supposed to look like. And that made it a lot easier for me preparing for it. But instead, like, unlike the first movie, we had 2 different casts, so we had to shoot it twice. And that was quite something. I have never shot anything so quickly. And it was a good thing that I was prepared and that I knew exactly what I wanted. And then also the director, because I thought he would also direct the movie, but no, I was not just the camera, I was also going to be the director, because he said, well, this is your film set now, you do everything, you call the shots, you tell people what you need, you do it. If you need me, I'm here. So the director turned into my assistant. Yeah, this was fun. This was so much fun. And even though we only had 2 hours to do all of this, we managed to do it, with the exception of one scene that we then shot the next day. So altogether we had 2.5 hours for 2 versions of one movie with 2 different casts. And that was crazy, but so rewarding. And I edited the video in record time so that for the second dress rehearsal it would be ready. And since it was a silent film, I think I'm going to put a few scenes up here because I can't, for copyright reasons, I can't show you the whole thing. But it's a silent film, so the orchestra of the opera plays the music live each time. So yeah, that was quite something, and to be part of that was really, really special. I would even say it was the highlight of my career so far. I really enjoyed this. And that's also something that came up in another reading that I got from Tangi on Friday the 13th, another Tanja Pear reading. And she talked about like the energy of like coming down and like a good kind of euphoria and like physical exhaustion in a good way. And that is absolutely true. That was exactly what I was feeling. And Friday the 13th was the day before the premiere, so I was still really excited because they're critics at the premiere, and so you never know if they're going to like it or not and what they will write about it. My boss actually took a photo of the lineup after the premiere when the big boss of the opera introduces all the singers and the director and the stage designer, costume designer to the audience so that they can put a face to the name. And this time I was there in the lineup. So here's a photo. Never mind what my face is doing. Since this is just a snapshot, I think I was reacting to something, so yeah. But the guy in the orange scarf, that's the director. And then the lady in the orange dress right next to him, that's the conductor. She's only 29 years old, but she is already very well accomplished in her field. And then we've got 3 singers. And then there's the the light and stage designer, I think. Then there's the guy from the choir who practiced with the choir. Then there's me and 2 more singers. So yeah, this was a fun night. I also got a reading from Rochelle and Dee from Amethyst Ascension and Art and Tarot by Dee, and they were pretty much confirming this whole thing, like 3 of Cups in reverse, so it really just go, 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 and a lot of work, no real time to party, but it's okay because it's going to be good work. So something that I did in August was I started my Lover's Path Tarot series, and that is really fun, researching all of these stories. So far I have put up the cards 0 to 4. I have already filmed the 5 as well, Romeo and Juliet. I just haven't gone around to editing it, but it's there. I have already researched the story of Isis and Osiris. I just have to shorten that because it's a long one. And then the next one in line would be Tristan and Isolde. And that one, I am going to wait a little bit until the end of the month or beginning of next month, because I'm going to see the opera first before talking about that. And one of the reasons why I wanted to get the Lover's Path Tarot was because so many stories in there have been turned into operas, and since opera is like part of my world, I also want to focus on the opera versions of the stories in those cards. Like the Ring Cycle is in there, Tristan und Isolde, Tannhäuser, so these are 3 operas by Richard Wagner. And yeah, there's just so much, like they're so complex. I mean, Tristan and Isolde, I think, is 5 hours long, close to 5 hours, because Tristan takes an awfully long time to die. This sounds really bad, I know, but like it's one of the longest, if not the longest, deaths in opera history. It takes an hour something for him to die. Usually the deaths in opera are kind of quick. At least they only take up 1 aria, which is like 10 minutes or so, but he's dying forever. So I'm interested to see how I can handle that. And the Tristan and Isolde story is also one of the minor arcanas. So yeah, I just really want to see that story first before talking about it. Something that I also got was the Ansata Tarot. I showed the deck in one of my previous videos, and now I have the book, which is quite a big one. And this is the book that was actually there first. And if I can find it, like the images in the book, they have been created for this book, talking about astrology and tarot. And then a couple of years later, they took the images from the book and created the tarot deck. So yeah, this is going to be another series that I want to do. I want to go through this deck because this one has completely different astrological associations. It doesn't follow the Golden Dawn system. And so that will be interesting to compare this tarot and its astrological meanings to the Golden Dawn system and the Rider-Waite-Smith. So, and also on the Lover's Path tarot, I got this one. Look, it has gilded edges all the way around. And this is the novel. This is not the guidebook. This is the novel. And this one is, let's see if I can find a copyright. Probably not. 2005. So it came out a year after the tarot deck. And I got this one used on Amazon. And this one is kind of like you have, it's kind of like the diary of a lady from 1500 or 1500 something. And it talks about the lover's path and mentions a bunch of different stories. And you got little things in here like kind of like in a scrapbook. And yeah, this is just really cool for everyone who has this deck and who likes working with this deck. Like, this is a nice addition. I haven't read it yet, but I intend to. So, something else that I got in August was my Art History Tarot for Past Lives. And I did show that in a video where I also did an example reading for one of my past lives. And this topic is really interesting, so I got another book. I got this one. And this is Past Life Tarot by Sarah Paul. And I believe this is the second version, the shorter version, of a book that was released earlier than this one. This one came out in, let me see, 2012. And it has some spreads for past life readings, and there's something really interesting in here that I want to talk about in a separate video. But yeah, past life readings, that's something really interesting. Another thing that I finally managed to get was the Ludi Lescott tarot, because, or this way, I got an Italian version, so that's why it looks different. And when I got it, the little white book was missing. And then I wrote an email to Los Scarabeo telling them that the book was missing. And I was wondering if they could send me like a PDF or something of either the German or the English card meanings, because this is yeah, the story in here, like even when you have the guidebook, it doesn't really give you the keywords or the explanations. It's more like the story that goes through the deck, but it's still interesting to have the booklet with the deck. And so on Amazon, I tried getting this deck. I put it off for a long time, and then I realized, okay, it's out of stock. And since this deck for me is part of like a trio, because the same artist who did this deck also did the Initiatory Golden Dawn Tarot. And I have one of the decks that I use, also put out by Los Scarabeo, that came with a board game, Arcanum, is a mix of those two decks. And so I wanted to have both of the original decks to see where the cards in the deck that I use came from. And now that I have the third one, I think that's another video topic that I'm going to go into detail with, talking about this deck, because the cards from this deck are not the same cards in the hybrid deck. For example, the Eight of Cups from this deck was put into the other deck as the Lover's card. So that's something to talk about. And then another thing that I got was the Tarot of the Golden Wheel. And I have seen this on Zach's channel from The Tiger's Abyss. I've seen it on Patsy's channel from Two Paths Tarot. And this deck, to me, is my childhood, kind of. So these are the backs. And they are of a Slavic and Russian folklore, difficult word. If you hear kids screaming outside, that's because they are. And so these cards are really colorful, and oh my god, this Fool card, that's me, like the dandelions, and here the little like the crown that we did as kids, braiding the dandelions together and all of that. So this is really reminiscent of my childhood, because I grew up in the Russian sector of Germany. So this was still during the Cold War. We did not watch American movies. We did not have anything from England, France, America, since the Allies were on the other side, and you know. So everything that we had was either our own or Russian and Slavic. So the fairy tales that I watched in movies were either Brothers Grimm or Russian fairy tales. My grandparents got a monthly subscription of a kids magazine for me, the Misha magazine, and that was Russian, and it had Russian and German stuff mixed together. It was written in German, but yeah, a lot of the artwork reminds me, like this deck reminds me of the artwork from the Misha magazines. And so this is what I saw as a kid, and even some of the depictions that we had like in books that we had in kindergarten or in school was very much like this. And so that's why I wanted to have this deck, because I don't have these Misha magazines anymore. My mom said, like, what do you need them for? Just throw them out, you know. You're not gonna read them again. So I did, and I regret it. And that's why I wanted to get this deck to yeah, have a memory of that time. So, and I'm also very happy that I got this deck. I did interview it, and my decks, when I interview them, they never, they're never what I think they are. For example, I have the Universal Fantasy Tarot, and that one, I haven't interviewed it, but when I used it for the first time, it was about current events and politics, and this deck gave me some clear answers, and I kept using it for current events and politics. Great. So the Universal Fantasy is for that. And my Arcus Arcanum, which is very like 70s He-Man comic book style, that one wants to talk about feelings and not about work. Oh my god, the kids are everywhere. And this deck, the Golden Wheel, wants to talk about people's intentions. Like, are people honest? Are they lying? Really show me what people are thinking. Like, this is a very much sword energy deck. This, yeah, it's weird. I've never had a deck that wanted to tell me what people are thinking and how they see certain things. Like, what are the things they're not saying? And this deck wants to talk about that, so that's very interesting. Well, that was my August and September recap. I hope the microphone worked. I'll see when I edit this video. And yeah, I will continue with the Lover's Path Tarot series soon. And after that, I got a few other video topics on my to-do list. I just don't really know when I'm going to be able to make this, because I've got different like videos that I have to do back to back now for work, and that is going to take up more time than usual. So yeah, if you've made it this far, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.